Hey, Craig.
Hey, John.
Who are we talking to today?
This week we have Joe Ray, one of our favorite interviews. We got Joe by just walking into his business in Portland, Maine. Joe is a fish distributor. So he wakes up at, 5:30 in the morning, goes on his computer and participates in fish auctions. And then he gets the product from the day before delivered to his facility. And then he sells it to restaurants, he sells it to grocery stores, he sells it to places, distributors again, like Cisco. And he's also amazingly funny.
And what's great about Joe is how long it took him to get started. He spent 20 years or so basically getting hired and getting fired in rapid succession. For someone who was fairly good, just to hear him in his story, he just kind of, keeps on chugging until finally he gets his chance, and now he's pulling in, in the neighborhood of $15 million a year selling fish.
Yeah. Yeah, what I really liked Joe, because it just showed how a determined, talented person can get it done. This guy can sell anything. As he says, he was probably a born used car salesperson, but he just happened to be a fish guy. And John and I both had a great time doing this interview. So check it out. This podcast is supported by our friends at MailChimp.
We use MailChimp to send out our newsletters, and so do over 8 million other businesses.
Visit MailChimp.com to learn more.
I'm Joe Ray at Freedom Fish Company up in Portland, Maine. We have the retail store Free Range Fish and Lobster Company, and we welcome you here.
How'd you get started?
It's a long story.
We got time. Well, we have a little bit of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I started, I was in Bath, Maine, and I was just turning 16 years old, and I was kind of I don't know if you want to say a punk or just a kid with no direction. And I was getting in fights, and the boxing coach, Kevin Gilmore, who owns a seafood market, he actually just sold it this year for a large amount of money. One of his employees, the kids that went to school with me, they said he wanted to talk to me because I was knocking kids out. So I ended up meeting him, and I ended up trying to box with him, thinking I was going to be the next boxing hero, and it turned out to be where I was really good at selling fish. Boxing really wasn't my cup of tea, I guess. A lot of black guys and no wins. But so I ended up going to work for him, and I worked in retail. And as I started with that, I got my license, and they said, listen, you want to go pick up some fish down in Portland, Maine? So I said, sure. I was in Bath, Maine at the time, which is about a 45-minute drive. So I drove down from Bath and came down to Portland, and I would pick up fish at Abba, which is now Bristol Seafood, in this parking lot. And I'd pick up fish, which is from Angelo, which is Nova Seafood down the street, and he's still in business. And I just fell in love with the whole action. I walked into the facilities and said, wow, look at these guys. They're hustling. It was like the stock market. They're buying, they're selling. Prices are up, prices are down. Everything's got to happen fast. And I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. Yeah. So I stayed with Gilmore's, and my senior year, college was coming up. And everyone's like, where are you going to school? Where are you going to school? Where are you going to school? And I was like, I'm not going to school. I'm gonna go and become this fish guy. This is what I want to do. Couldn't get a job though. That was the problem. So there was a guy named Fred Hersom in Bath, and he ran a boat called the Browns Point. I was dating this girl at the time, and she came from a very successful family. I came from a family that didn't have the money her family had, and I said, geez, I want to make something of myself. So Fred Hersom out of Bath says, why didn't you jump on this boat and go fishing in Alaska with me?
No way.
I'm like, just a little boat in Alaska? No big deal.
What are you, 18 years old right now?
I was 19, just turning 20.
Okay.
A late bloomer. I stayed back a couple times in high school because I was such a great scholar.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So I end up jumping on this boat in Alaska, and I go out there, and it was just crazy. I mean, the things I was learning, I learned how to cut fish. I learned how to handle fish. I learned how to, get yelled at a lot. I got, I learned a lot. I learned how to catch the fish.
Yeah. Your experience before this was just selling fish.
Just
retail.
selling fish. I never knew anything about the actual wild, fishing in Alaska.
Yeah.
So I met some interesting people. I met my deck boss. His name was Frog, his nickname. He had a scar from top of his head all the way down to his eyeball. He did prison time for selling drugs. And he was just a wild guy. I remember him telling me if I didn't do my job, he was going to take me in the fish hole and smack me around. And I was like, I just don't think I want to go in the fish hole with you. Even though I thought I was tough. I actually thought I was pretty tough back then. But the guys down there were crazy.
Wow.
So how long did you do that for?
I did that for about 4 months.
Okay.
What do they pay a 20-year-old to go to Alaska and fish?
You get a percentage of the trip.
Yeah.
I made about $30,000. I was working 16 hours, 7 days a week.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But they forget to tell you that they take out airfare, they take out all your costs of everything, and then they take out taxes, which we all know has to happen. Mm-hmm. So when it was all said and done, I think I ended up with 18 grand, something like that. But still, it was nice.
Yep.
I blew it in less than 2 months. I bought a Harley. I got an apartment with a girlfriend. She dumped me. I lost the down deposit on that.
Is that common with fishermen, or do people bank? Some of those guys up there, or do they just go back and blow it after?
I think at the lower entry that I was at,
Yeah.
I think that you get offshore, you make just enough to go out and blow it, and then you keep coming back for more. It's designed that way, so you do come back.
Yeah.
The captains and those guys, I think those guys make they make several $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
And those guys are skilled people.
High risk.
High risk.
Super high. So you do it, blow it. What do you do then?
So I come back and I decide that I need a job. I get on a lobster boat. Never done that.
Okay.
So I'm fishing on a lobster boat. This guy does urchining on the side, where you go and dig for these urchins, and you have to get a dive suit. Mm-hmm. He teaches me how to dive, and I buy a dive suit. Now I'm a diver, a lobsterman, and everything else, but it's all cold work and hard work, and I'm just I'm not really making the money that I want, and it's just not. It's not a big future for me.
What kind of money are we talking at that point?
I was making maybe $1,000 a week.
Okay.
And I just felt but I mean, you're killing yourself for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't always know if it's going to come next week, because if the weather's bad, you can't get out and fish.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you're waking up super early.
You're in below zero water. So I end up leaving that, and there was a guy that used to own the lobster wharf that I was working at named Bob Graves.
Okay.
I asked Bob if I'd have drinks with Bob, and I would beg him. I'd say, Bob, I had just met this girl, and I was together with her for a while, and I knew that we were going to probably, get married and everything else. I call her my ex-wife. So I ended up asking Bob, hey, Bob, can I work for you down there? He ran a company called Fortune Seas. I said, listen, I will give you, weeks of free pay. I won't even, I don't want any money. I just want an opportunity to show you what I can do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And every week I'd see him, every other month I'd see him. Finally, 6 months later, he goes, you know what? We just lost a sales guy. I'm going to see what you got. Come on down. So I came down to work at Fortune Seas, and I'll never forget it. I started that day, knew nothing about what they were doing, but I just got on the phone and just started saying, hey, my name's Joe. I got this, I got that. I was like a born salesperson.
Yeah.
I mean, probably a born used car salesperson, but nonetheless, a salesperson. So I started selling seafood for them. I didn't do too bad. I met the owner.
You're selling to restaurants at
I
this
was
point?
selling out-of-state companies, no local business.
Gotcha.
We were selling grocery chains and stuff like that. Some big ones. Grand Union out of New York, Demoulas. Mm-hmm. It went on and on and on. Company out of Chicago, a lot of New York, Fulton Fish Market.
Oh, cool.
It was mainly scallops. Okay. It was a scallop company / fish. They were huge out of Canada. Mm-hmm. So I remember bringing Bob and Birch. They brought me out to lunch, and I remember saying, hey guys, I'm getting paid $400 a week plus commission, and my commission's not equaling $100, and I feel like I'm bringing a lot of sales in for the company. And I remember Birch Lake looking at me and saying, well, maybe this just isn't going to work for you. Maybe you should find another job.
Yeah.
And Bob Graves looked at me, who's a friend of mine to this day,
Yeah.
and said, just take it. You're going to learn a lot. You know, someday you'll be able to have your own business down here in Portland. You never know. He goes, just take it. It's a chance for you. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, I'm taking it. So I took it. I stayed with the company for about a year. Birch Lake dies.
Okay.
He's a 50-something-year-old multi-millionaire in fit shape and everything else. He gets pneumonia, and he doesn't stop working. And he just drops dead. So he dies. There's no way, no possibility the company's going to be able to survive. So I'm sitting there saying, oh, God, what do I do now? So I had a 2-year-old at that time, and I remember saying, oh, my God, what am I going to do? I called my ex-wife and said, hey, you know, I just lost my job. She goes, well, find another one, but don't come home. You get another one. So I come down to Commercial Street, and I knock on the blue building right here on the Fish Pier. Used to be that one right there.
Yeah.
Used to be Sea Fresh USA. And the guy's name was Marty Wendell. Marty was a fisherman / production guy and knew everybody in the seafood business, just a really talented guy. So I said, I need a job really bad. Same thing I told him. He says, and I told him the same story I told Bob Graves when I started. I said, I'll work for nothing. Just give me a job. He brought me in for a little bit of money. He bumped me up. 2 weeks later, he liked what he had. I stayed there for 4.5, 5 years. He, learned everything I know to this day from this guy. This guy was just my mentor. He still is. Just an amazing human being. Probably one of the toughest guys I've worked for, but just a heart of gold, just the real deal. He wouldn't ask anything from you that he wouldn't do 3 times himself. And so I loved working for him and stayed there. We did some great things together. He taught me everything I know, how to cut fish, how yields, percentages, how to soak it. How, you know, if you're doing scallop programs, how to freeze it, what percentages, what things cost in my head like that.
Yeah.
Do you think he recognizes that you are kind of special, or is he doing this with everyone, or how's this relationship?
He knew I was special.
Yeah.
I was pounding the fish out the door. I had a drive. I was aggressive.
Yeah.
He would push me to no end. He'd make me come in early, make me stay late, and I'd never argue with him.
Yeah.
I would have never left him if it wasn't for the fact that one of our customers, Carl Piscatello, my old partner, saw the same thing he saw in me. And my family and his family would go out and have dinner and stuff and travel to New York and do vacations together. And he one day said, listen, I'm going to give you some money. I want you to be my partner 50%. And he says, I know you can do this. We can make big things happen. So I didn't know if I wanted to do it with a young boy. I was like, geez, I got a guaranteed paycheck coming in. This is quite a risk.
High risk. Yeah.
So I really didn't. We went back and forth for 6 months, and finally I got the guts, or whatever you want to call it, or the balls, no pun intended, to just basically say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I gave my notice. Boy, was he pissed. Marty Wendell was pissed, my old boss.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you need, a raise? Like, it's not the money.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was really mad at me. He was really trying to make my life miserable for me for about a month when I went in business for myself.
Because you're opening a direct competitor at that point.
Very similar, because he had other business. He had an international business where they processed a lot of fish.
Okay.
But yes, I was a direct competitor, and we also bought fish on the auction. But I ended up winning the battle only because of his love for me, and it actually ended up becoming better for me because in the auctions over here, you can really try to fight with each other and make other people pay more for their products.
And then back out. Yeah.
And it almost became where he liked me so much that he let me have some breaks. He wanted me to succeed.
Yeah.
He gave me a chance. And he was selling me fish. He'd get fish in and be like, you want some fish? Here, I'll help you with some fish. Just a great human being. Yeah. I can't say enough about him, but we kept building the business. I started with a little pickup truck.
And can you describe what this business with Carl does at this point?
Carl was an investor, but he had a company in the Fulton Fish Market in New York City. And I would be the buyer. I'd be buying fish from Maine and shipping it down to him.
Okay.
Yep.
So where I came into play was he was going to get a discount on his fish that I bought here by being my partner, and splitting all the sales off the generated sales that I got, all the profit off the generated sales.
So where does the investment money go?
The investment money went into the business, so I have enough money to buy fish.
Okay.
So Carl put in, I don't know, like $100,000 or something like that. I put in like $30,000, whatever it was. I had my savings at the time. So we did that deal, and we stayed together for, God, I want to say maybe 10 years or something like that. And then I bought him out.
Okay.
I wanted to expand the business, and I had a business partner, another friend of mine, Bill Denley, who wanted to get in the retail business. So there was an old seafood company called Tiny Seafood on Commercial Street. Tiny Seafood goes out of business, and a girl named Maggie Terry opens it up and calls it Free Range Fish and Lobster Company. She lasts, I think, maybe 2 or 3 years, and then she goes into bankruptcy, and I find out the bill. She actually contacts me saying, I'm going to be leaving. I can't make it work. So I call Bill. He's in Costa Rica. And I go, Bill, here's your chance. Did you really want to go in the retail store? We can do it. Yeah. So Bill and I both split it 50-50. We put equal amounts of money in, and we buy this retail store. I remember Bill saying to me, you sure you're able to manage this retail store and everything else? Like, are you kidding me? I can do this with my eyes closed. And we lost like $250,000 the first year. And I remember saying, okay, I'm not a good manager. I'm just a fish guy. I learned through hard knocks on how to do it, and we made some changes. Bill helped me. Bill was a finance guy, so Bill was really like, you're in denial. I remember him saying that. He's like, you don't know what you're doing. We pulled it out since then. We went from doing $4 to $5 million in sales back then to now $13 million.
No kidding.
And I remember being the little boy that wanted to work for one of these companies, and now I own them.
Yeah,
that's what I'm proud of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So and Bill and I have we've taken some risk. We tried to open up another. So let me talk about the retail store. So the retail store down here, we lose the $250. That was with restaurant sales combined.
And what year is this? Just ballpark.
This is we've been in business now 11 years with the retail store, and I'd say that was year 2, so 9 years ago, whatever that is.
Yep.
And we end up gutting the retail store out and making it nicer. We put all new equipment in and everything else, and that really made the difference. It was a whole new store.
No kidding.
Whole new store. We went from doing in that retail store $800,000 to now we do somewhere in the $2.5 million, something like that.
Wow.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Okay. And so about that time you're doing $4 to $5 million?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Around there?
Around
okay.
there, yeah.
Cool. And then now these are all under one business right now.
It's all one company, Freedom
Gotcha.
Fish Company.
Okay. And now we're at about 13?
Yeah,
annually?
right around there.
Okay.
And we have the restaurant division.
Okay.
We have the wholesale out of state division.
Mm-hmm.
We sell Cisco, Northern New England. We have 2 retail stores. So that's we're broken up in different facets of the company.
So can you give us just kind of a percentage breakdown of revenue per piece of your business?
I'll just do percentages. Yeah. I mean, I would say, the wholesale would be like 60 to 70% of the business.
Yeah.
And then the restaurants and retail would be the other.
Okay.
Be the other 30%, you know what I mean, or 40.
So how do you close a deal with a big contract?
I think you're really you're persistent. It's relationships. You find someone that knows someone.
Yep.
You get in there and you show them what you've got. You send them samples. You have a nice facility like we do, state of the art. Everything's just plush here,
super clean.
Yeah, and we've got inspections all the time. It's really, how do you do it? You have strong people behind you that allow you to do it.
Okay. I mean, you definitely have something about you that makes you good at sales, though, right? Like, do you think you could boil that down into anything in particular?
I mean, I'm a people's person.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to just go after anything I want.
Yep.
I'm not afraid to talk to anybody, and I have a lot of experience traveling around the United States, if not world, and just I love people. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
easy for me. It's
And you know
just
what you're
so-
talking about.
I know my products. I mean, I know I've never done anything outside the seafood business, but I know the yields, I know the cost, I know everything in my head right now. I do all the buying here. Well, me and Dave Sennett do actually, but I do a lot of it. And I think what makes me a good sales guy is I know my cost. I bought it the same morning I'm selling it, so I know what what it is, what it looks like, the grades on it. But I mean, if I wasn't in fish, I know I could sell anything anyways, just because I can. I've proven.
Yeah.
I can sell anything.
Yeah.
I'm just confident. I think it's something you're born with. I've trained people to be salespeople, and they just couldn't do it. I've had a lot of people work for me over the years, and I believe you either have it or you don't. I don't think it's something you can learn. I just don't.
So a guy or girl walks in the door for a sales interview, and you're like, boom, you got it.
You know.
Yep.
You know.
Yep, that makes sense. So what are your plans for the future?
I don't like to lie around, and I just bought this part of the building a year ago.
Okay.
Even though we were always in this division, we just expanded it. So my plans are to take this new building at 12A Portland Fish Pier and take us from our $13 million to $20 million within the next 2 years.
Right on.
How I'm going to do that is I'm going to grow the wholesale business and ship more people out, more customers out.
Yep. So how do you grow the wholesale?
Well,
what's the strategy?
I couldn't do it before because I didn't have the capability with the plant. The plant, I wasn't big enough.
You couldn't process enough?
Couldn't process enough.
Gotcha.
Now I got a bigger processing area.
Gotcha.
So now I need to put my money where my mouth is. I said I'm a good salesperson.
Yeah, let's see it.
I need to generate $6 more million worth of sales.
Follow-up interview, putting it on the calendar.
I have to do $6 more million worth of sales.
Totally.
So my goal this year was to break 15 million. That'd give me $1.5 million more than last year.
No shit.
And then the reason why I'm saying $1.5 million is because I need to. I've just been figuring out what we are and how we do it and who everybody is in this size capacity.
Yeah.
And next year, I'm hoping at that point we're just an well-oiled machine that just.
How are things trending right now?
Really great.
That's awesome, man.
No, the timing couldn't be any better with the people I got. I picked up some guys that just had so much experience, like I said. And, they're just everyone's clicking. So
what are the big contracts in wholesale that you've picked up this year, and how are you grabbing them?
Cisco was a really big account.
one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what they're gonna do with us, but it's big. I mean, they could take us over the top.
That's fantastic. And so, do you have eyes on the rest of America, other countries? Is that possible?
I don't know. I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm just an old-fashioned guy. I just love the good old United States, and I just don't really want to leave it.
Okay.
My retail store is all about local.
Mm-hmm.
We're really focused on local seafoods, local people, local boats. And I just don't want to leave the United States. I feel secure. I like my money being in this country. And I know I'll probably be missing the boat on some things, and there's probably a way to grow faster outside this country, but I don't know. I just want to stay here.
Are you competitive in like the West Coast though, California?
Yeah,
like,
I ship air freight stuff there, and
no problem. Yeah.
San Francisco. I've done a lot of business like that.
Yeah.
I'm very competitive with all that. We buy direct off the boats and we hand cut everything, so nobody's going to beat my price if I don't want them to.
That's. And the buyer pays for shipping, right?
Some do. Some want you to build it into the cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So.
And just actually backing up a little bit, what's the percentage of sales in terms of type of fish?
Well, I mean, I would say the biggest. I'll just tell you a few basics. I mean, like our largest volume of money throughout our program would be obviously like lobsters. We sell a lot of lobsters, and they're a high-end ticket item.
So high margin.
Yeah, they're high margin. They're high. They're just high dollars amounts. I mean, in general, they in the wintertime we're selling for $10, $11 a pound.
Yeah.
You sell 1,000 pounds, you get 11 grand real quick. So, so it would probably be like lobsters, haddock. I would say shellfish like clams and scallops.
Okay.
Those would be the 4 big things that make our numbers grow.
Yep.
And then there's numbers of small fill-ins. Everything you can think of.
Just tiny percentages from the bottom.
Little shrimp items,
And that's all coming through right here?
Mm-hmm.
That's all right here?
Everything's coming through here.
Okay, gotcha. So what does your day look like at this point?
Well, I start every morning at 5:30, and I get the grades from the 2 auctions that we do it in the morning. I do an auction at 5. I do an auction at 6 in Gloucester, and I do an auction at 6 in New Bedford. So, and then at that point, I'll look at that. I'll talk to customers. I'll know what I want. I'll buy things on speculation. And then we start. And then you've got 30 other guys holding a button down. The price starts at $1 or whatever. It could be 50 cents, and it keeps going up. And the last person holding the button is the winner.
Guess that's
So
you do this from home?
I do it from my
at
house
your computer?
in the morning. Sometimes I do it here. Me and Dave do it
If
together.
you get in early.
Yeah. And then when I'm done with that, I'll be done at that auction at usually done by 7 o'clock. Depending on the morning, sometimes I try to run to the gym and do 30 minutes of cardio because I try to keep my mind right. And then at 7:30, I'll be here, and then we start getting things, emails to customers, telling them what we bought and everything else. And from 8 o'clock, it's go time till about noon.
So you participate in the auction, you purchase the fish, it comes to you that day, basically?
Yeah,
You start
we'll get it that
cutting, shipping it out?
afternoon, and we're always a day behind. So if I bought the fish yesterday, we'll be cutting that the next day. So I'm filling the pipeline at all times.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm curious, what happens to the low-grade fish?
There's homes for everything. You know what I mean? You can buy low-grade fish that cuts out fine. It's decent. You just got to move it fast.
Okay.
So you wouldn't want to ship that too far out of state. You might want to find a diner or someone that wants a special price. You might want to find some program that's looking to just do a blowout, and within 48 hours, that's been consumed.
So if I'm at the grocery store and there's fish that's on a super sale that week, that might be low-grade fish?
Not always. Not always. That could be a lost leader. Grocery chains, like I saw Market Basket sell lobsters when the boat price was $8 for $4.99. But they got people in the store buying $300 worth of groceries at the same time.
Yep.
They bought 2 lobsters and they lost $4.
No problem.
It's just a lost leader. I mean, it happens.
You ever heard of Anthony Bourdain?
I love Anthony. He came up to Jay's Oyster Bar. I remember that. I don't know him, but he's a wild character. But I mean, the guy is just phenomenal.
You read his book?
No,
Okay.
but I mean, I've seen his history. What a unique individual.
Man, I hope we get him someday. But he mentioned something in his book that I want to ask you about. So he talks about never ordering fish off of like a brunch menu on Sunday because these restaurants are like buying on Thursday because the fish market is closed, and then there's like trickle down.
We sell seafood to DeMillo's Floating Restaurant and all these restaurants. The Dry Dock. I could go on and on. Great restaurants up and down Commercial Street. We deliver to them.
Okay.
7 days a week, and I'm buying fish 6 days a week.
Gotcha.
So the fish that you eat at DeMillo's on Sunday, could I have cut it on Saturday? Yeah, I could have cut it on Sunday. Did I buy it on Friday? I could have bought it on Sunday because we have an auction on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I would say to Anthony Bourdain, one thing only. You've never been to Maine, apparently.
All right, well, now it's thrown. The gauntlet is thrown, and
But we know he has been to Maine because he's doing some restaurants.
he seems like a good
Someone
guy.
gave him some bad information. I love the guy.
Yeah. He seems awesome. Super cool. All right. I'd love to just like kind of pull together and hopefully boil down maybe some of the things you've learned and like maybe advice you have over like, how about this? Let's start here. What are the mistakes you've made over the length of this business?
You know, I think my mistakes earlier on would have just been my temper. You know, I thought I knew more than everybody else, and I didn't give everybody else a chance, and I just held myself back and being aggressive, you know, and not trying to stay stagnant. I mean, I'm always moving. I mean, don't be a sitting duck. I think if you really want to grow your business, you got to constantly strive to do better. I mean, don't be complacent. I mean, I think that I opened a store in Manchester. I didn't tell you guys this, but I opened a store in New Hampshire, Manchester. I put in a large amount of money on a retail store, me and my partner, and we gave it 3 years. It didn't make it. We couldn't make it. It was the first time I failed at anything. It was really upsetting to me. But we took the equipment out of the store, we bought a new building, tried it again, and now we're doing good. So I didn't give up. You know what I mean?
What did you learn? How did
I learned location. I learned that you got to have the right person managing it.
Yeah.
I learned that I didn't train the proper people. I wasn't involved as much as I should have been.
Yep.
I don't think we should have went so far away. I think we should have started somewhere closer where family was involved. So that's what I learned. But it didn't stop me, and I'm glad it didn't stop me. It took the wind out of me for about a couple months, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, I got to keep going. So I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I can promise you it's not going to be at the level I am now because I'll be bored.
Yeah. So do you see running around here 20-year-olds like yourself who are just really pounding the pavement, and you think that, I don't know, you would kind of advise them to do what you've done?
You know, I mean, my business is so unique, but I've got college kids that are working for me right now that I'm just amazed on some, percentage of them, how smart they are and stuff. And I see a lot of aggressiveness out of them. And yeah, I think there's a lot of great people out there that I wouldn't have even noticed before. I mean, I've taken the time. I think my son being 23 has really allowed that to happen because I'm listening to him. And we've had a few battles. He's like, well, you're not listening. You're not hearing me. And it's like, well, because you're my little boy. Yeah. But my little boys have great ideas. And I think that as I get older, I honestly realize that just because I did something this way doesn't mean there's not a better way. And there is better ways. And the customer and the consumer and the people that we're reaching out to now think more like the younger guys. They don't think like I used to think. So I've had to change my ways to fit the customers. The customers want all, it's all green. They want better packaging. They want to know where their fish came from. They want to know who caught it. They want to meet the person. They want to know what they're eating. And that's what free range fish represents.
Yeah, absolutely. So in other words, if a young guy came up to you and was like, I'm thinking about starting something similar to this, you'd say, go for it?
I'd say go for it. I'd actually say, you interested in sitting down and being part of my company? Mm-hmm. I try to grab them.
Yep.
I try to grab them and train them. I mean, you train people, they might leave you, If he's that damn good and he's that much power, you might make him a partner.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
do you have mentees right now? You have people coming up?
My ultimate goal would be to get 3 or 4 more guys like me, young, that want to come in the ladder, and let's make this a $50 million company. Yeah, we can split this pie up. Let's just make it bigger.
Bigger pie.
Exactly.
Yeah. And would that be the plan, like to eventually sell it to the people who are running it under you? And
the plan would actually for me to go to the Bahamas and have those guys work and just send me a paycheck. But I don't know how it's going to work out. But I mean, bringing in young people with great ideas that could strive to make this company better. I've always said to everybody, you make your own luck. How would a young guy come in my company and become a partner? By leaving me no option but to make him one. Make me a bunch of money and say you're going to leave me. Partner!
Totally.
Thanks for listening, liking, subscribing, reviewing, whatever you do with our podcast. Next week, we have Audra Fordin, an auto mechanic in Flushing, Queens.
That's not a car. Right?
What is it?
It's a computer.
That's right.
Yeah.
You need to be an IT tech to repair what we perceive as a car. My grandfather, good look. I've got a picture of him driving a Model T.
Yeah. We want to take half a minute to tell you about our sponsor, MailChimp. MailChimp is the world's largest email service with over 9 million customers, sending over 600 million emails a day. No matter the social network flavor of the week, whether it's Instapic or Snapgram, people are always still checking their email inbox. With MailChimp, you can design beautiful emails fast and get your message into your customer's inbox. Sign up is free on their website at MailChimp.com.